Hello and welcome to this Sonicstate review of the LXR-02 Digital drum synth from Sonic Potions and Erica Synths. My name's Chris and we're going to be giving a bit of an overview of the machine, showing you what it does and giving you some thoughts on it. So yeah, it's a 6-voice digital drum synth with over 30 parameters per voice. The 6 voices are there. You have volume sliders for the 6 voices. We have a stepped rotary encoder to flick through the settings. And we also have these rotary encoders, which will change the parameters that we're playing with. Comes in a very sturdy aluminium enclosure. It's very well built. It feels very, very solid. Everything about it is very, very well built. You can hear that those buttons are very strong and solid. The other good thing about the buttons is that they're quite shiny, so you can run your finger along them and change what you need to change. Size-wise, it's about the same size as a Moog Werkstatt, maybe a tiny bit bigger, but yeah, they're roughly the same size, those two. Cool, so what have we got on the unit? We have 2 stereo outputs there. These can also be split mono outputs. We have a MIDI input, a MIDI output, USB 2.0, a slot for an SD card, which will save all your programs and kits and presets. We have clock in and out. And we have a lovely OLED screen, which will show us all of the parameters that we're going to be working with, as well as having a dual purpose, which is showing you the complete name of the parameter if you press the encoder, which is really, really useful. There is also a headphone output, 3.5mm headphone output there, and we have volume faders for each of the elements and the main volume there, which is on the right hand side. It has a 64-step sequencer, which means you can have up to 64 steps per voice. Each of the voices has its own sequence track, which means you can have all kinds of polyrhythms and polymeters happening because they are independent. There is also a global bit crusher for the whole kit. And there is kit morphing as well, which we're going to look at later, this MRP. That mixes between one kit and another to give you a huge array of potential for making new sounds and exploring the sounds that are already here. You can also save your morphed kit, which is brilliant. So you have your kit A here and your kit B, and then you can morph between them. You can then save that approximation of the 2 kits together into a new kit, which for me as a drum machine user for over 20 years, this is a very unique feature for modern synths and drum machines, and it's very cool. Okay, let's jump into it then. So we have a voice mode and a performance mode. Performance mode is for overall settings. Once you've got your voices set up, you can then use this to change things that are going to globally affect all of the parameters. Where you're going to spend most of the time with this machine is in the voice section. So let's have a look at that. We have 3 drum sounds here. We have a snare, clap cymbal, and our hi-hat. Now, each of these engines are slightly different from each other. These 3 drum engines are exactly the same, and then we have slight variations on the modeling for the snare, the clap, and the hi-hats, as you'd really expect, because we all know that to synthesize these sounds we require different elements. We've got the oscillator, we've got the envelope, we've got modulation, we've got frequency modulation, we've got a click, which is like an extra layer, we have a filter, with drive, an LFO, and a mix. I'm just going to sequence up some 4 on the floor to kick drum pattern. Maybe take the BPM down a bit, shall we? Let's keep it a bit steady. So we have course control, fine. You can choose the waveform type. PWM control there on the right hand side. I'm going to keep that on sine. So envelope, you've got attack, decay and slope. Slope is the amount of attack and delay, like how extreme they are. And we have modulation here, which has decay, slope and modulation amount. You can see there for the pitch modulation on the kick drum, we need a bit of a swipe. We have the FM amount, which we're probably not going to want too much of for a kick drum, but we have amount, frequency, waveform, and the style of modulation. You can have FM or you can have a mix of the two. I think that's the original signal plus the FM output. Then we have this click layer, which has different waveforms. And a frequency element. Really nice for just adding a bit of extra texture. Oh, let's leave that. I quite like that one. Then we have our filter, essential element. The menu will go into the more detailed view if you click the encoder, so we can see that's filter frequency, resonance, type. Let's see what it says about type. We've got low pass, high pass, band pass, unity gain band pass, notch filter and peak filter, as well as low pass too. We'll keep it on low pass anyway. We also have a lovely drive circuit, which is filter drive. So every single element has this type of drive. It sounds really lovely, I have to say. I've had a lot of fun driving kicks and snares through this thing. We also have the LFO voice, which has frequency, synchronization, modulation amount, waveform, retrigger, offset, and now this is the interesting thing. So voice and destination. We can send the LFO from drum 1 to the snare, for example. We can choose voice 4 and it will send what this LFO is doing on drum 1 to voice 4, so we can have parts interact with each other and affect and control each other, which is really, really nice. You'll see if I click on this disc now, there are a huge number of parameters that you could select. I think it's all of the parameters per voice, which is absolutely fantastic for this LFO. We're just going to keep that on 1 for the moment and just turn that off. And finally, we have the mix page, which shows our stereo outs, also the length of the sequencer. We spoke about that earlier. We have MIDI channel. We have MIDI channel, MIDI notes, volume, panning, sample rate, and another drive circuit, which yeah, I've been really enjoying those. Here's a bit of the old sample rate. On this output port, you can see we have ST1. We can send that to the stereo output 1, stereo output 2, left 1, right 1, left 2, right 2, or to the effects channel. So we have 4 effects built into this machine, which we can change by pressing Shift and Effects, which takes us to the effects menu. The effects we have available are delay, compression, ring modulation and drive. Let's put that on to delay. So let's turn up the dry wet. As you can see, it's really fun. I've had a great amount of fun using the delay and the drive circuits with this thing. So as you can see, we have 4 kick drums there programmed into a 16-step pattern. That's for drum 1. If we want to change it, we just click on these here and it will load up the sequence for that particular element. We can put the snares on in the normal place. Or not in the normal place. And we can, if we press Shift bar to the right, we immediately now have a 32 step pattern. As I said, you can change individual pattern lengths. You just choose your element, you hold down Shift, press last step, and this is the last step for track 1. You can see it's currently set on 16. Cool, so what we'll perhaps do is I'll add some elements to this now and we'll look at doing some automation. We're going to look at maybe playing around with the effects and adding some probability as well as using the LFO. So as I said before, the engine's different for the hats and the controls here are mod oscillation frequency for 1, mod oscillation frequency for 2, mod oscillation gain, and then waveforms. So we've got 2 interacting waveforms here. And we also have, quite nicely, we have settings for closed hat and open hat. So we have the closed hi-hat and the open hi-hat here. You can see that I can change the envelope decay for the open hi-hat compared to the closed, so we get like a bit of a difference between the two. All important shuffle. Let's just put it in performance mode and add some shuffle in there. So to mute a part in performance mode, we just have to put it in performance mode and we turn those things off. So if we have those 3 soloed, if we're in performance mode, we press Shift and up to the one that we want to unmute, and it will unmute these 3. Let's look at automation. So there are two automation tracks for the LXR-02, and all we do to go into recording mode is press record. So I'm going to press play there. So for this new part that I've just written, we're going to go and automate the decay. Let's automate the modulation. So here we are in voice mode. We can change the note for each element by holding on it in voice mode. We've also got probability of it happening. Let's have a look at the probability. Where are we? Let's do it with this one. Okay, so we're going to have all of these snares going. Let's have a look at probability then. So we go to voice, press voice again. Probability for this one. So some of them are going to play, some of them are not going to play. Let's change the effect. Okay, that's a bit more crunchy. Let's go into perf mode, and we're going to press shift and open hi-hat, which will unmute everything. Okay, let's have a little look at the LFO then. So we're going to get drum 2 synth, and we're going to go to LFO section, and we're going to turn up the frequency, and we're going to synchronize it to 1-1 for the moment, turn up a bit of modulation so we can hear what's happening, and then set a destination. This is going to be on voice 2, not voice 1, because we are using voice 2 right now, and the destination is going to be the oscillator course or fine. Let's have a go with fine, the course first. So there we go, we have the LFO affecting this drum 2 voice. On the LFO we can... And you can route those LFO signals to other channels as well if you like, which is really, really fun. There is only one LFO per voice though, so if you do assign an LFO to a different channel, yeah, you won't be able to use it on that particular channel. But we've got a nice little thing going there, haven't we? Really nice selection of stuff. So on the device yourself, let's save the kit. So we've got this in its kit, we don't need to save it. So we're also going to save our pattern, which is up here at the moment. And then we're going to save our project, which is the SonicLAB project. Just to say that anyone who is a patron supporter will be getting not only the projects and the kits that I'm saving on here, you'll also get a bounce out of the audio of all of those kits, as well as the individual track stems for each of those bounces. So you're going to get some really nice audio content, as well as projects and kits for the machine if you do decide to buy it. Let's have a look at the performance mode. We're going to go to Perf. Now, this is where one thing about this drum machine irks me a little bit, because what I like to do when I'm designing drum sound is like playing the sound and changing the parameters at the same time. You can't really do this. You have to sequence it, and then you have to dig in a bit later on. So the first thing we're going to look at in the performance mode is this roll feature, which is how we do the specific thing I just said. So we're in performance mode, we press roll to 1, and then we have access to each of those as a one shot. Unfortunately, we can't edit the sounds because we need to go into voice mode. So this is why we have to sequence it and sort of play it along like that. For me, that's a slight issue really. I like to trigger it manually myself and sort of feel the change happening. So this roll feature is sort of like a re-trigger, and it relates in the same way to each of these elements do here. So if I hold down a button while it's playing back, I would personally love for that to go a bit faster. I want it to like really ratchet. So at the moment that's just on the steps, but it's a nice little feature. We also have the sample rate for the full kit, which can be messed around with. And again, we press the shuffle earlier. So yeah, the way the kits work are there are 64 kits in every project, and there are 64 projects on one SD card. So you can do the maths. That's a lot of sounds. That's a lot of kits, and there's 64 patterns as well. So you have a ton of things that get saved in every project, which really makes it very versatile. It gives you such a breadth of stuff to work from. And I think it would, let's have a look at the morph kits. So we would load a morph kit there. So I'm going to load one of my morph kits there. Press perf. So this is the kit that we had before, and I'm now going to morph it into another kit. Hyperspace. Let's say you like that intermediary place. Let's say you like that intermediary place. You can then, you can save morph kits. So we'll go beyond the ones we've got saved. I'm going to save that. Yes. Okay. Let's save that as Quillian. So yeah, this morph kit feature is fantastic. I really enjoyed it. And of course you can flick through the morph kit while it's playing back, which is quite nice. Great, absolutely amazing feature. For someone who's born in the 80s, something like that on a drum machine is just absolutely next level. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this thing. It's sort of a dark side. I've got lots of sort of dark stuff out of it. A lot of like FM-y stuff, which sounded very much like the Korg ER1 style modulation. Some lovely sort of rippling modulations, really nice metallic sounds. I love the automation, the integration of the automation. That works very well. Had no issue at all with that. It's built really solidly. It's a really, really solid unit. I don't think, you can take this on tour with you. You could put it in a bag, take it on a plane, and have a lot of fun with it. I think you could also probably make a full track using this, although you are missing like the real true sequencer, and you're going to miss chords, but you could put together a significant amount of a track using just this piece of gear alone, and it would sound amazing. I did see the SD card input and immediately think it would be sample based, which it isn't. That was a slight disappointment for me. I'd love to be able to put my own samples in and mess with all the effects and on all the other stuff. But on the whole, an amazing piece of gear, very dark sounding, a very urban kind of sounding. You won't get anything too sweet and melodic out of it, but that suits me to an absolute T. There are some shortcomings with it. The main one just being the internal architecture is not conventional. It's not very intuitive. The uniform way that it looks is one thing that came to mind as well, because there's no real differentiation between these elements. Sometimes they get confused. Sometimes record will be on and you don't even realise it. It would be really nice if the play and record were just different colours. Instead of being the same color. It just really adds to like confusion. So there we have it. There is the LXR-02 Digital drum synth from Sonic Potions and Erica Synths. I believe it retails at around €440. It's available now. And it's a great piece of kit. You hook it up to external gear, to other things. There are no CV outs. There's no CV out. So if you're going to integrate it with modular, it's probably some kind of workaround with MIDI. Other than that, though, an absolutely great machine, and something which will really push you, and they are adding new features to it. I do believe that there's going to be some firmware upgrades coming very soon. Even more to get stuck into with it. What do you think of it? What do you think of the LXR-02? Is it something that you buy? Did you have the LXR-01, for example? How do you feel like this has improved upon it? Are there any features that you feel like are missing? Please let us know in the comments. As always, our patrons will be getting some extra content. They'll be getting all the audio samples of the patterns that I've made and the kits that I've made, as well as the actual projects and kits themselves. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this review, and we'll see you again soon.